Okay, we're recording. Hey guys, it's Ty with the Mountain Life. What I wanted to do is take a minute and show you 4 ways why you're missing fish on your jaw jackers, and you may not even realize why. So this is the rod and reel that I use exclusively in my jaw jacker, and what you're going to notice is it is spooled with braided fishing line. I normally don't fish braided fishing line, but you need to on your jaw jacker for 2 reasons. The first, there is no line stretch with braided fishing line. Why we care about this is if you send this line down into the water and you've got your rod and reel all loaded up in that jaw jacker, as soon as that jaw jacker trips, you want all of that energy to be transferred into the fish's mouth. That's what's going to hook the fish. If you're losing any of that energy to line stretch with monofilament or traditional fishing line, then you could potentially be missing hookups on your fish. The second reason why you want to fish braided fishing line on your jaw jackers is the braided fishing line has no memory to it. When you pull monofilament off of your spool, what you're going to notice a lot of times is that it has a little bit of coil still in that line. If you send that line down into the water with that coil still present, what you're going to notice is fish are going to be pulling on your lure, and all they're doing is taking the slack out of those coils. It's never going to trip your jaw jacker. So fish braided fishing line on your jaw jacker rod and reel setups. So the second thing to consider is the action of the fishing rod that you put in the jaw jacker. This is an Ugly Stick GX2. If I pull on this fishing line, what you'll notice is the tip of this fishing pole has a super light action. This is going to be a good fishing pole for jigging for perch, crappie, bluegill. This is not your jaw jacker rod. By comparison, what you're going to see is a more tapered action on my jaw jacker setup. So if I pull on this, you see how that's much more tapered? You need a tapered action, and you also need an action that is firm enough to recoil and set the hook. These rods are both rated at medium action, but what you can see is that all medium action rods are not created equal. Make sure it's tapered and make sure it's firm enough to actually set the hook. So the third thing, we're actually going to look at the jaw jacker itself. If you pay attention to this little wing nut right here, this is important. You'll want to turn this in such that it's tight enough that if a fish barely bumps your lure, it's not going to recoil that rod. I like this set a little tighter. I turn this wing nut in such that it requires that fish to hit that lure with a little more commitment before it recoils the rod. Turn this in, find your sweet spot, but make sure you're paying attention to that wing nut. So my fourth and last tip that I have for you guys to catch more fish with your jaw jackers is to abide by the first in and the last out rule. What that means is when I go ice fishing, the jaw jacker is the very first thing to get set up. It's going to fish for me while I'm setting up my tent, my chair, my heater. Also, it's the very last thing that I put in my sled. I'll tear down my tent, I'll tear down my chair, put everything in my sled, and the jaw jacker is the last thing to get put away. If you will let it fish for you in those setup and tear down moments, I guarantee that you're going to catch more fish. If any of these things gave you ideas or helped you, give it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching the video. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.